Love finances, the other F word, and want to support the show? Become a patron by going to patreon.com/FTOFW. You'll get special features, a shout out on the air, and early releases. Or if you prefer, pick up some merchandise at financestheotherfword.com.
As fantastic a CFP as Mel O is, as wonderful an attorney as I am, and as good as Stormy is at whatever it is he does, please do note that anything said in our podcasts are our opinions alone and are not meant to be taken as financial or legal advice.
Welcome to Finances, the Other F Word, a Gen Xer podcast for musicians and music lovers, where we discuss money and music without all the pretentious bullshit. Here are your hosts, Zoe Terry, attorney at large, Stormy Andrews, founder of Yokel Local Marketing, and Mel O, certified financial planner and author of Finances, the Other F Word. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, fucking A. Oh my God, I'm so happy to be back. We took a little hiatus of about 3 weeks, and you have 2/3 of the finances team here. Stormy is not with us today. And why is that, Zoe?
Snip, snip, snip.
He got his boys snipped, but this is the best part, you guys, because, you know, we always have to start off a really good fucking episode talking about Stormy's balls, even though Stormy's not here. So he actually went to get a vasectomy last week, and they did the snippies, and then they could not find.
They couldn't find his. They couldn't find it.
They couldn't find his. No, they couldn't. They couldn't find his tunnels. The like whatever the little tunnels that have the sperm goes and out the wing.
Gross.
They couldn't find it. And so they had to have him come back today and sedate him. So I talked to him before the podcast, and the motherfucker is loopy as hell. And he has, I don't know, I think frozen peas on his balls right now. And so we are saying Stormy, but we will be back to full capacity the episode after this. But let me tell you guys how fucking cool this is for our episode back. Now we have with us, and you're going to hear him talk here in a minute, is Dani Munoz. Now, he is the sound engineer for some names you might have heard of. Enrique Iglesias, who, by the way, had that song, I Want to Be Your Hero.
Oh, God. Once you get it in your head, you can't get it out.
Hate it.
Oh,
I would still fuck him, though. I would still fuck him. Let's make that. I know I'm not any Anna Kournikova, but I would still fuck him if he wanted a chance at this. So, you know, Dani, pass it on just in case.
And my grandmother was a huge fan of his father. Loved.
Oh, he was good too. Yeah. So he's sound engineer for Enrique Iglesias, Kali Uchis, Snoop, Flo Rida, and Lykke Li, and many, many others. Dani, welcome to the fucking show, man.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks for the kind words.
Absolutely. We are so stoked to have you here. We're going to talk a lot about how he got into the industry, some really cool stories that he has for us that he's allowed to share. But more importantly, we're going to talk a bit about the finances that are continuing to run through the entertainment sector, because quite frankly, there's no live entertainment and it's really hitting a lot of people hard. And then we get to hear Dani's story about what he's done in his downtime to basically launch an empire, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm fucking excited. So Dani, let's just start with the basics and get it out there. Tell us how you got into sound engineering, who was your first gig, that kind of thing.
Well, I started when I was a little kid because my family owns a sound company in my hometown of Cali, Colombia, which is where I'm from. So when I was growing up, it was, you know, my uncle owns the company, and I used to love going backstage, you know, hanging out, you know, next to musicians. I'm a drummer since I was little. I've loved drums, so I used to just love going backstage, not even see the show from the front sometimes, but just go and like watch the drummer play, and you know, when I got the chance to help around the stage, you know, pick up mic stands, wrap cables, whatever I could get my hands on when I was a kid. And you know, that just, you know, evolved into actually like me wanting to work there seriously, because I've always loved music and computers, so it was kind of like a cool little you know, middle ground of things. So I just worked, and then my uncle got me serious after a couple times that I saved the day in one of the shows, and that actually proved that I knew what I was doing, because he wasn't very much into, like, how do you call that, nepotism, you know, and he didn't want to give me any advantage just because I was his nephew. So he made me just earn it, and he taught me how to work, which is very important. A hugely important concept, if you ask me. That's one thing that you pretty much don't learn in college. You never They teach you all these skills, right, and they don't teach you how to work. So um, very early on, he gave me like, he's got a very strong work ethic, and he instilled that in me. And then I moved to the States when I was a teenager. And then just same, man, like I college, I didn't think it was for me. I never thought like school. I hated school all throughout. Anyways, I don't like classrooms. I don't like to be in one place. So I said, hey, I think I can teach myself this stuff. I'm just gonna go work. So I did, and I started knocking on doors in every single little production company. When we first moved to the States, it was Miami where we landed, and I started just cutting my teeth in every production company I could, that will give me work, when I was like 17, 18 years old. And after that, one guy his name is Brian Gallant, who, you probably hear this at some point, but he is the first guy that gave me my chance to really be in charge of a sound company. Because he, as crazy as he is, he's a DJ that had a sound company. And he didn't care that I was 18, or, a little immigrant kid that, my English wasn't that good either at the time. So, but he didn't care, and he gave me my chance, and he put me in charge. So I was in charge of invoicing at the company. I was in charge of, driving the truck, packing the truck, prepping the gear, going and setting up the show, running the show, packing the gear back up, going in the truck. So I was in charge of 20,000 things at not 18, 19 years old, which was amazing. That was my college, I think. And I just kept working in the scene, and I worked so hard. I started picking up like 2 gigs a day and doing crazy stuff. And I'm super tall. I'm like 6'4", and I was really, really skinny. So lifting cases became a problem for me at some point, and I was working so hard that I had a really bad back injury, which put me out of commission there for a little bit. And then that got complicated. The damage got complicated, on compromised one of my nerves on the legs and the sciatica nerve pretty badly. So they had to operate. So therefore, I couldn't really go back to doing heavy production work. So that made me focus on mixing, and I was always about music and everything else. But because I wanted to be noticed, I was working so hard and whatever. So that kind of made me focus on mixing and working for music, which is what I really wanted to do. So I worked at Guitar Center while I was recovering, because that was the only way to stay kind of close. For those who don't know, Guitar Center is the largest music store here in the States. But I worked there, made some friends in the industry, kind of like, you sell them gear, or you make friends, you meet people here and there. So after a while, the manager for Guitar Center told me one day, because I quit eventually, because I'm a terrible salesman. I'm too honest. So I just went, and he told me, hey man, there's this club in Miami called Santo, it's a very, at the time, it was a very well known club that played live music. They had like a house band, and a lot of artists love to go through there to party and like see live music. It was like a big thing. So he told me they're looking for a sound engineer. They're auditioning people. So the day I quit, he gave me that tip, which is amazing, because I showed up the very next day to an audition, and they gave me the job right on the spot. They liked what I did. So I started working at that club. And the cool part is that those type of clubs, the live music clubs, what a lot of people don't know is that a lot of touring musicians, like, very busy musicians, when they're home, they like to play. So most of the times they are always finding a club in their city to play, especially if other musicians play there. So, like Lauryn Hill had her backup band, like her band used to, a bunch of those cats used to play at that club. So, just like that, my circle started expanding. And since I took that place, even though it was it's not a small club, it was upscale, but it was not a big, it's not a big venue like a theater or anything. You're talking about like 300, 400 people in there. But I took it as like I was doing a stadium show. I always took this
Hell
stuff super
yeah.
seriously.
Yep.
So I treated it like my lab in a lot of ways. And so much so that people started noticing that I was really bringing, like, I will be obsessed studying on the internet, like all the kinds of stuff that came out, new technologies, new ways to doing things digitally. And I started like incorporating that, convincing the owner to upgrade certain equipment so I can get my hands on it. And the quality showed. And it showed so much that after a few years of working there, they started calling me to do other clubs, like almost like production manage other clubs and place people there, and like just go in or give my blessing on the sound and consulting most of all, And I then at some point, what my big break came when, after working with a lot of these musicians that will call me to do gigs and everything, then Flo Rida was going to go on tour with Pitbull. We're talking about 2010, 2011, when Flo Rida was like smash after smash hit, and Pitbull wasn't the same thing. So they were both going on a co-headline tour, and then they call me. Well, they called the producer of the one of the nights that they used to put together, an R&B hip hop night. He had to put together a band for Flo Rida. He got the call to put together a band, and he was calling the same musicians that were at the club. So when they found out that Flo Rida didn't have a sound guy, the producer went to me and is like, you got a passport? What's going on? You want to go on tour? So I was dropped after doing gigs in clubs and doing that stuff. I was dropped, like just grabbed, and they dropped me in an arena with 20,000 people. And then I just went and did it. And I learned, like, it was the most terrifying first week of my life, of working there, like just being in front of all these, because it's a different game, when you mix at clubs, when you're mixing music for clubs, and it's just a different thing. It's like playing in the park basketball and then going to an NBA game, so I went from little leagues the jump was very drastic.
Right.
Dude, that's cosmos. And I don't mean, Danny, let me jump in here. So basically you're in the club doing all this stuff, and then you just get picked up and plucked from obscurity, and boom, you're at Flo Rida. Right. And you're doing this out. So there's a couple things I want to backtrack before I forget this. So I love the fact that you didn't go to college for it, because we've spoken on this podcast many times that the inflation rate on college education has went up so high that millennials are saddled with so much student loan debt. And so we've had so many people on this podcast that have not attended college that have made it because they followed their gift. And that's what Danny has done, and many others. So I think that's fantastic. And it makes me think of the game Life. Do you remember the board game Life?
Yeah.
Every time I played Life as a little kid, I would always pick going to college, and I would always fucking lose, and I would continue to do it. So anyway, it just made me think of that. So, okay. So now I've been to a Pitbull concert. That is literally the only hip hop concert besides Cypress Hill, which is still kind of rock, that I've been to.
It's kind of rock. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were fucking phenomenal and sold out, by the way. So you're sitting there, the lights are about to go up. Your balls have got to be tingling at this point, because you're just like, what the fuck? So
not as much as Stormy's are.
They
right
went
now,
inside. They went back inside. I was like, dude.
Back inside.
So
no balls are out at this point. No Jueves is out at this point. So then you're sitting there, and then the fucking lights came on. Flo Rida hits the stage, or you start. I'm assuming this sound before. So tell me, like, go back to that experience. You're at the fucking sound booth. There's all these people drunk, fucking hype, probably fucking high as well, especially if they're in Vegas, and even before it was legal, and now you're fucking on. So tell me, like, what's going through your mind? Like, how are you fucking feeling? Because I feel like I'm fucking there with you, seeing it, even though it's already happened.
Well, first of all, I kind of had to, fake it and be like, oh yeah, I've done this, guys, don't worry about it.
I got this.
The first thing I didn't have going for me was that the console that I had asked, which is the one I knew how to use pretty well, and the gear that I have spec'd, all got messed up. That order of gear, because of hip hop, and they're not the best at following through with paying bills on time. Some gear got lost, some stuff, great, right? So I'm like, I had that going against me. And then the other thing I had going against me is that Pitbull's engineer is not only way more experienced than I was at that time, but he was really good, like really, really good. One of the best guys I've heard. So, we opened the show that, because, we will kind of, I think we took turns. Like sometimes one of us will close the show, but I was opening the show that day. So when that finished, it went on, and honestly, I remember, like, I will never forget that, because I even remember the city, and I forget all the cities. Like, if you ask me right now about a city in the world, I probably won't remember. But there was, Vancouver, Canada. I remember because we were doing an arena tour first through Canada, starting on the West Coast, finishing on the East Coast. So, man, I'll never forget that, because it kind of just, like a truck just went, like a freight train, just poof. And I was just trying to keep it together, and like before I knew it, the show was over. Like, it was like me chasing myself, like, keeping up. And then obviously it was nerve-wracking. And I just remember, like, wow, my impression was like, wow, that's crazy, but it fucking sucked. Like, that was just terrible. And you're looking at me, I was 23 at the time, and I'm a kid too, it's like, no, it wasn't good. And when I heard Pitbull's show, how amazing it was, because they were rehearsed. It was a well-oiled machine, man. They came in and killed. And I was just like, Jesus. I went back to the tour bus, which I was so happy to be in, because before I had just toured in vans and maybe just flights here and there. But it was my first tour with a proper tour bus. And he got a really nice one, of course, because he's Flo Rida. So we all had nice stuff. And I just remember trying to be happy about it. But I was just like, man, like, I got to step up my game. So from then, it was just like mentality. I'm very competitive. So I was just like, no, there's no fucking way in hell that this guy is going to fucking, smash me and shit on my face like that. Hell no. I'm going to do it.
Do you think he thought, man, I'm going to shit in this other sound guy's face? Do you think that's what was going through his mind?
No, but he probably didn't care. Probably when he heard my show, he's like, oh, I have nothing to worry about. This kid is just going to like crash and burn,
And it probably wasn't as bad as you thought.
I don't think it was either.
Man, I'm telling you, I am very hard on myself, but that's why I got good. But I can tell you, it wasn't good. I don't think it was good at all, at all. I think I still have some of those recordings.
I was gonna say, were any of our listeners at the Flo Rida show in Vancouver?
Guys, they can tell you. They were probably, and you know what? They were probably dancing their ass
God, they
off
probably fucking loved it, and they don't have any clue. But if then let us know.
Okay, so we've never done this before, and I haven't asked you this beforehand, but if we do have any listeners who were at that show, at Danny's first show, and actually saw Flo Rida, if you can send us a picture of your ticket stub, a legitimate ticket stub, not some bullshit image you pull off the fucking internet, Danny is going to sign something for you. I don't know what he's going to sign. Maybe it's going to be a tit shot. We don't know yet. But will you do that for our listeners, Danny? Because that would be fucking great, dude.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be crazy?
Oh, that would be fucking wonderful. Good, because when I saw Pitbull, I was hungover as hell and still danced my ass off. And I remember there was this Mexican guy, like kind of overweight, and he had big old gut, shirt unbuttoned, like fucking unabashed, and just rocking out. I was like, dude, this guy is gonna get fucked tonight, because he does not give a fuck. Like, he is like doing the pit bull with his fucking stomach out. He's like, yeah, bitch, look at this stomach and suck this dick. I swear to God, I just kept staring at this dude. Like, this guy is not looking like he's gonna get laid, and I think he's gonna get laid tonight.
I bet he did.
Pitbull.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
He had the swag, It's about the swag at the end of the day.
Yep.
So when is the last time you were on tour, Danny?
Oof. Oh man. October 2019.
October 2019. So
after that, I got to do maybe a couple gigs in December of 2019, and then we were in the middle of production rehearsals for our first tour of the year, because it's dead. January and February usually in the touring industry, it's kind of dead. So January you almost never work unless you're doing like an Australia and South America run. If you're a band that's like really happening, which I did a bunch of times, but not this year. And we were just getting ready. We did a show. The crazy part is that I did a show on February 27th, 2020. The 27th.
Right.
In Italy at the Fashion Week. And I left, and like a day or 2 days later is when they shut down Milan. And that's when I realized.
Real quick for our listeners, it blipped out when he said it. He was saying in Milan, Italy. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Danny. All of a sudden the feed dropped out. So I wanted to make sure that
that's key. That's key, because Milan was, remember when it all went down, it was Wuhan and then Milan. And when they saw Milan and the state of Lombardy closed down, that's when people freaked out. Because like, what do you mean you're gonna close down? Italy? What? And then it all just went downhill from there. But I got to Milan, and I'm like out to lunch. I don't really watch the news. Like I'm a little too busy with other stuff. But when I got there, I thought it was interesting. I'd heard of the virus, of course. We all kind of heard about it, but it was strange that they were taking temperatures at customs, and everybody, the guys, the scientists from ET that pick up PT from the creek, like they're all covered in like
Oh
this.
yeah.
So those guys were there taking temperatures, and I was like, "Wow, that's cool. I guess they take it seriously here, or whatever." Not wearing a mask, I didn't care. I like running a lot, so I usually when I fly overseas, I go running to like get my body moving, and then so I can sleep a little better. And I went on my morning run when I got there. I was high-fiving people, drinking coffee, the Italian coffee. I was living my life like nothing was going on. And I didn't get sick, which is amazing because the epicenter of everything was happening there. And the show we did was at the central station, the train station. They kind of closed it. And it's a public space, but they closed it. So imagine, it's like if there was any virus, I probably just like dodged 20 COVID bullets, but I ended up coming back, and yeah, management sent me a message when we were coming back. It's like, "You guys make it?" It was like, "Why?" "Dude, look at the news." And we look at the news, and it's like, "Get out of here."
Wow.
We
You
just
really
found out
got
that it's like, yeah, it was bad. That was the last show we got to do. We got to do pretty much the last show they did in Italy, probably.
What show was it?
It was for Fashion Week in Milan, and
Okay.
it was like a fashion. It was like a fashion show where Kali Uchis was just singing a song while they were like going, modeling their clothes,
Right.
and very hoity-toity, very. But that was the last time I worked really a show before.
Yeah.
It all, yeah.
And so, are you at liberty to tell us just a little bit about what you're working on with Kali Uchis right now before we transition into another topic? Because this is pretty exciting shit. This just came down in like the last 24 hours, right?
Yeah. Well, we're getting ready to do a shoot for, hopefully for sometime in Valentine's Day, around Valentine's Day. She's gonna do a live performance. She's planning to do this really cool live performance of her new song. So she just put out a new album a couple months ago. And the album's been doing really well, even though she hasn't been able to promote, which is really hard for artists right now to release music because they're like, yeah,
Right.
we can't really do any promo on it like you usually do, which is hard because, and so I'm doing that. She's putting that together. And I'm just getting the details like right now before we got on this podcast. I was just literally just sending emails and asking about like, what's going on. They semi-create, they put in touch with the creative team, so it's going to be really cool because she's always like, she went to school for a film, so she's very like visual, and she's very conceptual and super interesting artist. She is. So that's going to be cool. I don't really know yet what's going to be because again, I'll find out probably tomorrow. But it's very crunch time, and it just happened in its last minute. We gotta kill a very complicated production in the next 2 weeks.
Dude, you can
Get it all,
totally do
so-
it though. What a great.
Yeah, I
project to
mean,
have.
yeah, it's
Seriously.
just yeah, it's a blessing, but at the same time, a little stressful, So, but it's good, man. I'm counting my blessings right now. So,
And you're her, did you say that you're her production manager as well as the sound engineer?
yeah, I'm her production manager and tour manager.
Tour manager too. So
because,
you can wear many
you know,
hats.
People have left like I kind of just I've been the constant there since she was like a very smaller artist. I've been
Right.
with her the longest than anybody.
Okay.
I've really believed in her for a while, and she's really she's cool. She's from Colombia too. Her family's
okay.
from Colombia. She's Colombian American. It's a whole project. It's really
Right. Especially on a
trying to
short
compromise.
time
Yeah.
frame.
Yeah, because we don't operate on unlimited budgets anymore. Music industry is very tight, man. Like everybody's watching those numbers, man. And like, for me to like make a decision, I have to go through 3 phone calls with label executives and all kinds of people approving, hey guys, we need 3 more days of testing now, 3 more days of COVID testing. represents
the thing,
for
during
a 10,
now it's a whole different thing, right?
for a 10-person crew, you're looking at $1,200 per day on COVID testing alone. And then you have to have a COVID compliance officer there, which is just the guy that's like, mall cop going like, you're not wearing your mask, put on your mask, it's over your nose. Like there's a guy.
Really? You have to have
stand
someone
apart.
there to do that.
If people are standing too close apart, he puts them apart. Like it's just a guy, a cop, a COVID cop, just going like, no, put on your mask. And they give you their own mask. You can't use your own mask. They have to give you the mask. And if you need to wear gloves or like whatever. And it becomes a very complicated thing too, because you have to now stagger loading times. You don't show up to a job site like before where everybody comes in and works. No, now it's like, okay, audio comes in. All right, lighting comes in now, because you can't have too many people working at the same time. Even loading a truck is like, how do you social distance two guys lifting a case? It's kind of like, it's
the overhead's got to be going through the fucking roof with all of that stuff.
You guys have no idea.
Shifts. Yeah, I mean, and that would be crazy to see like on a tour budget, all of a sudden a new line item of COVID test comes in, and it's like, oh well, I guess we'll do with one less light so we can make sure everybody's COVID tested or something like that. It's
and the COVID cop. That's what I didn't even realize that. You have to pay for the COVID. I want to be the COVID cop.
I got certified.
Fucking COVID.
You can get certified for that, and actually only costs like $50, and you can get calls and get paid for like $500 to go, be COVID cop.
I'm the COVID cop on this podcast, right?
Dude, Stormy and I are like shirtless children running around constantly wanting to get together and have drinks and drink off each other's drinks. And Zoe's like, no, we have to be outside and we can't be too close.
And we are 2-0 on who has had the COVID. Let's guess who hasn't. I want the fucking badge. I'm not going to do anything with it. I just want a badge.
They should give you one on the screen too. So every time you show up, you have a little star. Like,
well, and listeners, if anybody can create that, Zoe's birthday is February 4th.
3rd.
Is it the 3rd?
Yes, the
3rd and the 4th. Fuck it. It's her birthday month. It don't matter. So if anybody can make a COVID badge, dude, hit us up, because I want to see that. Tell me how much it costs, because that would be crazy. So now transitioning to the ooh, did I say fart? That's crazy. I don't like the word. I don't do the fart. That was weird. Transitioning. Starting over. So we're all having libations on the podcast because this is a celebration, bitch. Because we're been back for 3 weeks, and I thought I didn't realize how much I missed it, to be quite honest with you. I know, but man, I really missed it.
And we're so happy that Dani is our first. He's popped our cherry for 2021. We're very happy.
I feel special.
We haven't had our cherry popped in a long time. So congratulations. So here's the part we always have to talk about, the other side of COVID. We touched a little bit about how it's affecting budgets, how it's affecting artists who are trying to get their name out there or keep their name out there. So what have you seen and experienced that maybe somebody like us who might look and go, oh, I'm sure that, there's lighting companies that would be affected right now because there's no live entertainment. And I'm sure there's sound companies that are affected because there's no live entertainment. But what is some of the stuff that you've seen that an outsider looking in wouldn't even see the effect of what COVID is having on your industry?
Man, imagine we are the people that take pride on not being seen. Our dress code is black because we have that almost like that oath of like, yeah, you are not seen, but we make everything happen. Mm-hmm. Now imagine that turning on the news throughout 2020 and seeing, after COVID was, hitting, like, we're looking at the middle of the pandemic, and there's all kinds of news articles and mini documentaries on like the effects on the waiters, God bless them. I'm not saying like nobody's more important than anybody, but it was always mentions about waiters, about, maids in hotels, that everybody's getting fired. Obviously the airline industry is like, even though they always get bailed out by billions.
And they did.
and they charge you, I always just thought, like, I'll remember it next time they charge me, $100 for my extra bag, I'll remember you guys. But yeah, there's mention of everybody, that got the short of the stick, but nowhere, man, nowhere, not a single news article was seen about the live entertainment industry, which again, it's not just the touring guys. I'm part of the touring industry, and again, that's the events. That's, as far as I'm concerned, I'm that part. But you have to understand, there's my colleagues that don't tour. They are local guys here. For example, the guys here in Miami, they make a huge part of their income. Most of it is ballroom meetings in Miami of all the hotels. All the business meetings, all the conventions, all the trade shows. I mean, you're talking about massive, CES in Vegas, what it means. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, the scale of CES of a show like that, and everything. And you have to look, it's not just the show. Every single hotel has an infrastructure, a whole thing going on for that. So what I've seen is that, first of all, like, there was barely any awareness. Everybody was worried about the Uber drivers, man, and the maids and the waitresses and waiters, man. That was oh my God, what's gonna happen to flight attendants? So I think that, only now on this second round of stimulus, when they talked about is when they actually got some language there, even to save music venues, because that's the other part.
Right.
Our counterparts in the local guys are the venue guys, the house people, the people that, make sure the venues run, And when you look at clubs, man, legendary clubs like Metro in Chicago, which were one of the first ones that had to close,
Right.
there in LA, there's one of the most beautiful jazz clubs, amazing, in Tokyo, in Little Tokyo. The Blue Whale closed down, all these little clubs, and everybody else just, we're looking at an invisible victim, almost, like we're all like just like invisible. So I think that's the thing that I saw change the most was the rate at which people are leaving the industry, because Kali Uchis, for example, we just had to look for a new monitor guy, a new playback guy, because our guys left. My sound tech that was with me last year left the industry altogether. A bunch of people just got new jobs, started new careers.
Because they
You're
had
looking
to,
at,
right?
yeah, what you're seeing is that not only COVID killed a bunch of the older guys, which is real, I'm telling you, some of, like, legends in this industry that nobody knows about died. And with them died the experience and their knowledge and everything else, which is, thankfully a lot of them passed it on. But it's a very young industry. Remember, we're not like banking or like or like restaurants, which is a thing that's been going on for hundreds of years. Our industry started in the 70s, late 70s. If you think about it, touring industry, the Beatles didn't tour. There's a whole documentary on that, like how the Beatles never toured, and they just retired from playing shows because they couldn't hear anything.
Right.
It was just screaming people.
Right.
There were no PAs, no nothing. It was just like Fleetwood
Wow.
Mac was one of the first bands taking out like PAs, man. You're looking at that kind of stuff. So, we don't have like the first generation of older guys either are dying with COVID or retiring because they're scared shitless of going out to do a gig right now because they could die because they're in their 70s, or, not to mention the health problems of touring for years, especially you were talking about making jokes about the 80s, but yeah, no, for real.
Yeah.
We are the first health conscious generation that's been doing this. That's kind of like, oh, there's mental health. Oh, wait, you gotta watch what you eat. You can't really eat pizza, after show pizza every day. Like, we're the first generation.
Nose.
Yeah, like, let's tone down the blow a little bit. We're
Only
the first
one
generation.
a week.
Yeah.
Go on, then.
Yeah. We're the first sober, like, kind of like, yeah, because obviously the trades got more skilled. Like now, like a guy like me is like, I'm skilled in IT, man, accounting, like you name it. I'm skilled in so many things just to do my job, which is just mix music, right? But that's the biggest change. And if it's not the older guys, then you look at the younger guys that were just getting into the industry the past couple of years, which is a bunch, man. You're talking about all the Gen Zs. We're just getting started. All right. If they went to school, which again, I'm not against school, nothing against school, but especially audio schools are a bit of a, you're talking about inflation, man. They're charging $100,000 to go to Full Sail right now, which is the biggest audio school, I think. $100,000 for a bachelor's degree. And I've had kids like that, as is me, who have never stepped foot in college, which kind of tells you that, I'm not trying to say that, everybody's bad coming out of the school, but, there's not much you can do with that degree, honestly. If you're not, unless you're really good, which I've seen guys with degrees be really good, but it's like anything. So you have these younger kids that got into the industry. They found, oh, wait a second, this thing can stop at any minute. This is not viable. And I'm 21, so I'm just going to choose a new career. So then there's going to be a shortage of skilled workers, man. And the people that are not leaving, that's the biggest change you're going to see, is that the people that are not leaving the industry, and you're just going to get a bunch of new guys now that don't know what they're doing, or we're going to try to start there's a shortage of people. So now when all bands, remember, if this thing starts coming back, you're going to have it's not like before, because before you kind of went on record cycles, right? So say, Flo Rida went on a record cycle, we finished that year. And if I jump on another artist while Flo Rida was down, I will just jump from cycle to cycle, right? But not all artists go out at the same time. Now they are going to. And that's the big problem. Because now when they all try to go out at the same time, say, right now my projects right now are like Kali Uchis, Lykke Li, and and maybe Ricardo Arjona as a line artist I work with. But if they go out, they all at the same time, there's no three me, I'm gonna have to, what's gonna happen? It's like, it's gonna be complicated. Not to mention the gear. There's not gonna be enough gear for everybody, and it's gonna be complicated. That's I see some changes happening, and if you guys want to talk about this new Sony thing that got unveiled today, it's a virtual. They basically can make virtual avatars of artists and do an immersive concert just like they do in Fortnite, but just for any artist, and recreate any venue and just serve that in your living room.
Can
and
they
they just invested $250 million on that.
Wow. Can they do Flo Rida in Vancouver? And
they probably can.
I want to be at that concert. But you touched on something that's very, very interesting. When we're talking about the trade workers, it used to be when, Zoe and I are Gen Xers. And so when, I don't know how it was in Britain, but for me, it was like you come out, the yuppies were big, and you go to fucking college, and you don't go to trade school because it was poo-pooed. That was for people who weren't smart enough for college. That's what it was. Yeah. But if you look at the way that the scales are tipping, and it's not just in your industry, it could be people that are laying vinyl, or people that are building houses, people who work with their hands. Everybody has done this overshift on education. They're carrying a fuck ton of debt, and they're not going to be able to find jobs. And then what they're going to find is that they're going to be making way less than these people who, lay flooring and do all this other stuff. So what is the artist that you work with doing? Because depending on the, how established they are as an artist, and depending on the record contract that they have, they have advances that they have to pay back. They have different things that they have. We've talked about on this podcast about how record contracts are structured. And the thing is that most of the time when they would close that gap to be able to pay that money back, they would do it by touring. That was the music. Yep. That was the money generator. So now you have these artists who maybe got their feet wet, and then now they're finding that they can't go out, but they still have all these advances and shit they got to pay for the record companies. So how are the artists, if how are they dealing with this COVID thing?
Well, I mean, they're losing a bunch of money, and the ones that are kind of like relevant, which is what I mean by relevant, meaning that they still put out records, that kids like. That's what it really means, because kids are the ones that are streaming mostly at big numbers. Those guys are doing a lot of brand partnerships, and even the ones that are not so relevant, but brand partnerships right now are like big, because that's like, the only way they could really pull money in, or at least big budget money, because all these brands right now are all about content. Everybody's about creating content, and there's a big paradigm shift when you have no more in-person, marketing avenues. It all becomes content. So that's a big thing they're doing that I know of. I know a couple of the artists I work with are doing that actively. and most of the times they don't even like it.
Mm.
I know it's not their favorite thing to do. It's like they feel like a commercial half the time.
Right.
Unless
That's what
unless
they
you're unless you're Pitbull, and then in that case,
yeah.
he don't care. He's like, show me this,
Yeah,
man.
fuck it.
Show me the check.
Yeah, I'm
Fuck
going to make
you.
the most out of it.
Yeah.
Can I just touch back on what you just mentioned about the AI thing that
Yeah.
Sony.
like, that's the Sony thing that's like Fortnite.
Well, I'm probably butchering the explanation there, but I read this morning on that they just invested like 250 million into this crazy new solution to make artists. So they basically make like a digital avatar of the artist that performs and does everything in a virtual venue, and then it's made for like Oculus Rift or like Oculus VR or PlayStation VR. So it's like an immersive, like 3D audio. Like it puts you in their concert, and it's a digital avatar with all kinds of augmented reality and whatnot. Which
but it's not them. It's not even like a what am I trying? A hologram of them, right? It's an avatar of them.
Yeah. But I mean,
But I don't know.
Avatar,
maybe the kids want what they want, right?
That's what I'm saying. But that's what they're doing in Fortnite, anyways. That's it's man, as hard as it is, even for me as a millennial to understand. I think that I'm seeing where it's going, man. And if you think about it,
but
I got a couple of my friends.
How's that going to affect you? Because doesn't that take money out your pocket? I mean, that's not something that you.
But I mean, yeah, of course. But that's just a symptom of the bigger problem, which is can't do in-person concerts. How are you going to get that music out there? How are you going to get people consuming their music? That's what they're concerned about. They make these investments thinking, well, there's got to be a way we can present a concert. And Fortnite, the Travis Scott concert in Fortnite, don't forget, that was 27 million people tuning in. Okay. Those are like, guys, like, I'm sorry. Those are numbers that if you look at it, it's insane. 25 million is what you serve on like 2 years of touring for you. I mean, how do you play in front of 27 million people during a tour?
Yeah.
Even the biggest tours, U2 and like Taylor Swift, which is the biggest tours in history right now, the ones that hold the records are like 4 million through the tour,
Wow.
And then you have, and think about it, you have Fortnite, right? Fortnite is becoming a thing for concerts.
Yeah.
And there's this other platform that it's happening in Asia. I can't remember, but BTS, which is a K-pop band, which I don't know if you know about it. BTS, their numbers, which is a concert, it's a virtual concert they did, and their numbers, if I'm not mistaken, were also like 25 million, but they were charging a ticket. So people were paying to watch the stream. And if you see it, what are managers saying? What are record companies saying? Hold on a second. BTS just had a 27 million attendance concert because it's global. Because at this point, once you go virtual, you're serving the entire world, right?
Yeah.
And they're monetizing that. But those guys only pay for the production that it costs to make that one concert.
Oh my God, the margin just
by comparison.
Roof.
By comparison, Taylor Swift grossed like around the same money. I was reading up an article on that, and I think she grossed a little over 30 million or something. But it was something along the lines of like, for her to gross that much money, she had to tour for a whole year, put on one of the biggest shows on earth,
right?
And she kind of grows almost the same, but the cost that it took to put on that show around the world, then the profit margins are insane. Versus BTS puts on one show and makes all these executives are looking at that money coming in like, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I bet you, and if there's record executives out there that want to check me, please come on the podcast and check me. But I bet you those bastards will not adjust the contracts. They will keep the contracts the way they are. Like, for instance, in a lot of the record contracts, there's the breakage thing, when people had records and you would ship them to the record stores and the records would break, and then they would charge those broken records. They would send it back and they would charge those broken records back to the artist. That clause, to the best of my knowledge, and I haven't looked at one, is still in there. So I bet you that all of this other bullshit that are still in those record contracts with major labels are not going to modify to take advantage, or to take advantage for them, but not to help the artist to be able to get a bigger piece of that pie. And we talk a lot about being an independent musician on this podcast. And it just seems every single time we talk to somebody in the industry like you that has so much knowledge and experience, that more and more, if you put in the sweat equity, that the way to go is to be an independent artist, because you're going to end up getting caught in one of these record contracts and you're going to end up getting fucked. And I don't know what the lifespan of a major label is anymore, because they had the distribution, but you don't need their distribution anymore. You can do whatever the fuck you want to. And if you can have a virtual venue and 27 million people, that's fucking ungodly. And as you're talking, all I'm thinking of is I'm seeing a budget for the tour and line items are just dropping off. And I'm seeing the profit margin just tick, 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 and that's fucking insane, dude.
It's still not this. It's not the same. I mean, I know it's what is necessary perhaps right now, but it's still not the same as physically being there.
Yeah, but it's not the same for us because we've done it. But if you have these young people coming up and that's all they know, it is the same.
Yeah, mind you, like you're looking at a zero risk type of deal, and imagine the impact that this is gonna have in the future of concerts. What one of these guys that probably the first guys that are gonna start working, are not even the big guys, are not even the most skilled engineers, the more skilled working for the biggest artists. It's gonna be the smaller indie bands that are gonna start like, oh well, we have not much to lose. Let's just go out and do shows, and fill out a 600. 1,000 cap venue, which is, for them, it's at that point, the risk is like way less, and if they ask them, which is another model that I've heard, is that they're going to start asking artists to do 2 shows per day to stagger the crowds, which is, it's going to be something, right? It's definitely going to take away from the magic, but
Could you imagine MJ doing 2 shows in one day? Or, I mean, even like if you've read Nikki Sixx's The Heroin Diary, because I'm a Motley Crue fan, and he talks about, they performed 2 hours a night and they acted like it was just such a drudgery for him. And their manager was just like, dude, he's like, there's people who lay brick for 10 hours. Shut the fuck up and get out there and play guitar, And this, I'm sorry, real quick. And then the thing that's so ironic is every time we have a sound guy on here, the fucking internet connection lags. So while you're listening to this, you're going to hear that there's times when he drops out. I can't fix that. Maybe I can send this to Dani and he can do the own producing on this podcast and then send it back to me and I can fix it. But I'm just letting you know that I know it can be a little bit annoying, but it's the irony is palpable, and it is what it is. I'm sorry, guys. But, anyway, okay, Zoe, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to jump in.
What's the name of your speakers and how do people look for them if they want to get hold of them?
Yes, they are called the G-Tones. My company's called Phantom Center, and they can find them at my website, which is phantomcenteraudio.com. There's a little online store where you can get them, and it has all the details. There's a little video I put together telling the story, a more detailed story on how I came up with the idea and the sound behind them. I'm working on some really cool binaural content that I'm just developing right now, which is the ability, there's these special microphones that I got recently by one of the companies that endorses me, which is called DPA. It's a Danish super, super amazing company. And they make these microphones that you put on it's like a headset that you put around, and the microphone capsules, the little capsules go in like just on top of your ear canal. So it simulates, this is because it's simulating the human hearing and how we hear, because the distance between our eardrums and the resonance of our head and everything makes us perceive audio in 3D. Because when you're really listening in the real world, you're not just like a stereo field where it's only left or right? It's more like you can know when something's behind you, above you, and everything. all those sound cues, there's been geniuses that have developed a way to record audio in the same way. So I am working on some binaural content in which I can show people, if they want to do like a virtual demo of the speakers, they can jump in, put on headphones, and I can show them a recording of me sitting in the studio playing music through the speakers and show them like different ones, like different, like I can reference against like popular brands of speakers because I've been in all these studios, so I can record that and show them and be like, hey, this is what you can expect, so to speak.
Right.
And things like that. And I'm also working on like, just different content for binaurally. Just people can put on headphones and be in the same room with me, so to speak. Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty
Awesome.
cool. Yeah. Before I forget, I'm donating part of the. Okay, so the Grammy Foundation has this Music Cares. It's called Music Cares, and they have the COVID-19 fund, which is helping. It's giving grants to a lot of people in the music industry and the touring industry too, that are going through a rough time, and they've been giving grants since the pandemic began to people. So I decided to donate part of the proceeds of the speakers going back to Music Cares to help out, people in the same boat.
That's
So
great.
that's important because
Yeah.
I think people should support that because they really are looking out for our own, the music people.
So, Dani, what was the first concert that you ever went to?
Whew. It was this Mexican band called Mana in Colombia, and that was probably year 93, and I was probably 6 years old or something like that. I wanted to go. The first one I wanted to go to was Guns N' Roses, but since Guns N' Roses, there's a famous concert where there were riots in Bogota, Colombia, because not enough people could get in or something. There's a famous story about that, but that one concert I wanted to go, and because of the riots and all this stuff and the craziness, I couldn't. I was too little to go to a Guns N' Roses concert, and my parents weren't too keen about that. So, yeah.
All right.
Did
So
you write that down, Mel O?
I did. I'm writing Mel O's, like everything he's saying. I'm like, I didn't spell the name right.
Of course you didn't. Of course you didn't. I'll grammar check you later.
Yeah, but I pluralized it. So I think that part's good.
I'm the COVID police.
I
I'm
know.
the COVID cop.
Mask
I'm
on.
also the grammar police. COVID cop and grammar police.
Okay. So second question is, how much money is in your wallet right now? Cash.
Cash money.
Man, I hope I'm loaded.
Dollar bills, y'all.
I have one. Hold on.
Oh, hell yeah. $205. $206.
$206. I think he must be in the lead on that one.
He is so far. The second one was Kim Cooper, our intellectual guy, Flash that. Our intellectual property attorney, who had like $170 on her because they had went to the strip club on a girls' night the night before. And she like pulled out, this is when we were in the studio pre-COVID, and she pulls it out. And she's like, and we're like, what the fuck? Like, she's about to fucking make it rain. Zoe and I are going to get naked because.
Hell yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
When he said, right. Okay. So question number 3, Zoe.
Dani, what is your favorite swear word?
Fuck. I feel like, oh man, it's really, I know it's lame to say that, but oh man, it's
Such
like,
a good one.
there's so many conjugations for that, man. So many like uses, and it's so versatile, and like it rolls off the tongue, and it's just great.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'm into
It's
it.
a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah. And I learned to say fuck without an accent, without too much of a heavy accent, which is great. I'm like, yeah, I'm saying it like a true American.
Yeah.
Okay. So the fourth question, and this is an important question, and I always get to ask it because it's that important to me, and I don't want you to give me some bullshit answer. I want you to fucking think about it, even if it takes a couple minutes, because this is important. What song do you like to get your groove onto? Think about it.
Groove onto.
Yes, we mean sex.
I like my sexy
there's so
side.
many. I'm so good at that too.
Dude,
because I
I
always play
fucking list
music.
them because most people are like, ugh.
And he just said he's so good at it too.
You want to know? I'm pretty. I'm Colombian. I want to say the entire album. Can I give you an album? Because you can play front to back, and it's really good.
Yeah, but if you can fucking
You
fuck
go that
the
long? You
entire
go a whole album?
then I want to shake your wife's hand.
Christ. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. What's the album?
I want to say "Return of the Space Cowboy" by Jamiroquai.
Jamiroquai, I love the JK,
Yeah.
even if he did just storm the Capitol. We'll let him off.
I saw that. I saw that. I was dying, man. I was like,
so many
Jesus
memes about
Christ,
it.
it's so good.
Apparently, there was an article where he said, it wasn't me. And we're like, baby, we know it wasn't you, darling. You're about 50 now. You're about the same age as me. So we know you don't have it in it. But I love that album.
I love that band so much, man.
Before we get out of here, one more time, Dani, give us how all your stuff, plug all your stuff, how everybody can get a hold of you. And then we'll go into final fucking announcements. I don't know. And then we'll get off of here and we'll all finish our drink. So where can everybody get a hold of you?
Yes, Instagram at Dani Audio or at Phantom Center Audio. And I think there you can find me easily, or my website, it's phantomcenteraudio.com. And that's it. There's always a form there. I mean, I'm not going to give you my email because you can always send me messages through there and it's the same. But you can, that's it. You can just, my IG, I'm pretty active in there because I talk to a lot of people. The music, it's a great networking tool for musicians and stuff, and that's the way they can see the speakers and talk to me. And that's it. That's my G. I don't really use, I think it's the same handle for everything though. If you find me on Twitter, it's the same Twitter handle. The same for Facebook, it's Dani Audio or Phantom Center Audio. And I'm there, and you can always feel free to reach out. It's
That's super fantastic. And we loved having you on the show.
Oh, it's been so much fun. The first one back. We're so happy to be back. We're so happy to have had you on. And
absolutely.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Some time.
As always, you guys can find our book on Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart. Now I found out Finance is the Other F Word, Another F Word to Love.
Nice.
Stormy's book, I know, right? The World's Best Buyer Persona System. He will be back with clean-shaven, non-effective balls on our next podcast episode. Please make sure that you follow Lily Lou Mittens, soon to be star of Child Book that Zoe is working on Instagram. And we got something really cool to announce. And Dani actually hooked me onto this. There's a new platform app called Clubhouse. And basically, it's where you can go live and interact live with your audience, and you guys can, research it and do whatever. But we are actually on Clubhouse, and our handle is FTOFW Pod. And Zoe and I, by the time this airs, it'll be too late. But Zoe and I will be doing, hopefully at least once a week, where we'll be doing live discussions and questions and maybe live podcasts, and we can have guests on there. And so that when you're listening to Dani or you're listening to somebody else, and you want to ask them a question, you can fucking come into Clubhouse and we can hit you up, and then you can have Dani all to yourself for a split minute. So we're super jiving on that.
Okay.
But as always, you guys, we are so thankful for the listeners. I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're going to continue to do the best we can to bring you people who are interesting, keep you up to date with music and money news. And I just can't thank you enough. You guys fucking rock. And thank you for listening. Say bye.
Oh, bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening. If you like us, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.